There's nothing more inspiring than hearing real people overcome real challenges to get the results they want, especially when those are the same results that you'd like to see in your own life. That's why in this bonus episode, we are going deep with another incredible success story. Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Sukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a busy life. It's a little bit nerdy, a little bit funny, and a little bit revolutionary. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. There, and welcome back to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Sukup, and I'm the founder of Thinlicious and the creator of the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And in this special bonus episode, we are taking another deep dive into what transforming your life through adopting the Thinlicious lifestyle actually looks like by sitting down to chat with one of our amazing clients and now TAS Certified Coach, Kim Jenkins. Kim joined our program originally in 2023 after thinking about it for quite a long time, yet always thinking that it wasn't really something she actually needed, until she realized that she did need it. But of course, as always, it's better to hear her talk about it in her own words. So here's what she had to say. Kim, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm excited to jump in, but let's just start with a little intro. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you live, all the things.
Okie doke. So I'm Kim and I live in Southern Maryland. I've been here all my life. I am 49 and I am a mom of 4. I have 3 boys and 1 girl, and they range from 23, he'll be 24 at the end of this month, actually, and all the way down to 10. So our first 2 are 23 and 22, very, very close, back to back. And then we had a 10-year break, and our surprise is 13. And because I have OCD, he needed a playmate, and he's 10. So,
Wow.
And I had to have it even, it had to be.
The girl is the baby, or?
No, the girl is actually my second.
Oh, okay.
So she was pretty devastated that there wasn't another girl to come, but So yeah, my husband and I have been together actually since I was 18. Yeah, so a long time. We've been together 31 years.
Wow.
And it's crazy because we've kind of grown together, and but that's my life. I've been also with Pampered Chef for 25 years, so I'm all about the food. All about the food, and that's what tends to attract me. I look at the recipes, I think, oh, can this go well together? How is this going to taste? And, which is why I love the baking aspect of it. It feeds my OCD and
That's amazing. So you're probably a good person to talk to about all the baking, cooking and stuff and doing it all. Like, have you done a lot of experimenting then with all the recipes and all the low sugar, low carbohydrate baking?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I have had, because I love to bake. I have a huge sweet tooth and I love to bake. Like I said, it feeds my OCD. It kind of calms me down. I think because you have to be so precise, it just kind of calms me. So I have done, because I've been eating like this for 7 years, I have tried a whole lot of nasty, and eaten a whole lot of nasty because it's expensive for those ingredients.
So you won't throw it away, even if it's gross.
Definitely not. Nope. So I would suffer through all the nasty. But now I can kind of look at the recipe and see, what is going to actually work well together, because it's so different, when you're dealing with the different flours and the different sweeteners, and it's very different. It's not like regular baking at all.
Yeah,
so.
it definitely takes a little bit of experimentation. But okay, I want to talk more about that in a second, but let's just back up a little bit
Mhm.
and start at the beginning. So you said you've been eating this way for 7 years, but TAS has not existed for 7 years. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you get started? And then what made you decide to join TAS?
Well, that's actually very interesting because so about 7 years ago, my youngest was 3, and I had extra weight, especially having my last 2 pregnancies later in life, but it wasn't enough for me to actually do anything about it or change the way that I eat in any way. However, I had suffered from chronic migraines and daily headaches for over 20 years. And by the time that it happened where I changed my eating, I had been, I was always having a headache and I was up to 3 migraines every single week. And
Yeah.
that is put me in bed, make me sick. I'd wait for my big kids to get home from school and I was like, I just got to go lay down. And then I'd go lay down, I'd be sick. It was horrible. And I didn't want my youngest or any of my kids really to remember that about their childhood that, mommy's always got a headache or mommy's in bed. And
Yeah.
a friend of mine had started eating keto to lose weight because they were talking about back surgery for her. And she was like, Kim, the more I research, the more I look at this, and it says that it could be good for headaches. You've got to try it. And at that point, I was at my breaking point, and I was like, you know what? I'll do it for 30 days. I can do anything for 30 days.
Yes.
But then I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of person. So I went from probably 200 carbs and 1,000,000 grams of sugar a day to no sugar and less than 20 grams of carbs. And so I had the worst headaches of my life for 2 weeks. Like it was horrendous.
Oh my gosh.
Sugar withdrawal, it was awful. I was in bed every single day. Like it was terrible. But then it was the first day after the 4-week mark that I had started eating like that I woke up without a headache. And I remember thinking, oh no, I got to eat like this the rest of my life.
Oh, that was when it was like, oh, you weren't could do anything for 30 days, but then realizing you got to do it
Exactly.
forever. Oh, that's funny.
Yes, exactly. So, but then I did great. Like I became completely thin adapted. I had so much more benefit than just the headaches being gone. Like I was sleeping better, I had more energy, I was losing weight and not even really trying. It was just like, wow, look
Yeah,
at this.
it's
But then
amazing.
it was amazing. Like I had never for finally I didn't hurt all the time. But then fast forward and then you get to the pandemic and I started getting more like keto treats, and all because you started seeing keto friendly, keto approved, keto this, keto that everywhere you looked. And I got lazy and then, was like, well, this is easy. That's easy. And started buying more of the processed things instead of doing it myself. And I started gaining weight back and I stopped sleeping so good and I started getting headaches back. And I'm like, what is going on? And
Yeah.
funny thing is, I actually got your original email about TAS and I read through the whole email and I was like, no, that's keto. I know what I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's all good. But I never deleted the email. I kept it. And then when the low carb summit came, I was like, well,
Oh,
I can do this. I'm going to try this.
yeah.
And I got into that and I was loving it, but I still didn't jump until the spring challenge. And then by then I had had enough of not having the benefits anymore and couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was having headaches a lot
Yeah.
again. And so I did the spring challenge and where I thought when I first read the initial email, I thought, I know what I'm doing. I don't need accountability. I don't need a community. I've been doing this for 5 years at the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine. But then in the spring challenge, I had that community and I was like, oh, I do need this.
Yeah. It makes
Because
such
none of my
a
family eats like this,
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I do need this. And
Yeah.
the education that you give and the reasons why it works and the fact that you don't stay in phase one for 7
Yes.
years.
Yes.
You stay
Yes.
in like
Yes.
for a
I know
few weeks.
it's so interesting that you say this because and it's so good because I think we do get that a lot, right? People like they come on, they're like, wait, no, this is just keto. Like I either tried that or it didn't work for me, or I don't want to do keto, or and it's so hard to like explain the nuance that yes, there are facets of our program that are very similar to a ketogenic diet, especially in phase one. But
Yeah,
there's also some really distinct differences that are so important that are like everything, right? Like the fact that
absolutely.
it's science-based, the fact that we're whole foods based, the fact that you don't stay in that like super high fat time forever because it's not that good for you long term. Like you actually
Yeah,
need to like create metabolic flexibility, like all the things which but it's just it's like it's such a subtle nuance that a lot of people are like, nah, that's not for me. Keto's not for me. I tried it, not going to do it. And I'm like, no, but we're not. Like, give it a chance.
exactly.
Give it a chance because
Yeah,
it is actually very different and it will change your
yes.
life. I love it.
Totally, totally. That was mind blowing to me. And then the fact of how much we focus on protein, it was like all of a sudden it all clicked and it
Yes.
all made sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been missing. And
Wow.
sure enough, that was what I was missing.
Wow. So now
Yeah,
no
it's amazing.
headaches.
No, very rarely. And when I do, it's usually because I'm at a very high stress point or I haven't been eating like I really should because I'm at that high stress point,
Yeah.
or it could be barometric pressure or something, but it's nothing like it
Not
was. And when I'm good and I'm doing my protein fast days, because I find my body responds very, very well to the higher protein.
protein.
And so when I'm doing that,
It's
no worries.
amazing.
It
Yeah.
feels great.
It's amazing. Oh, that makes me so happy. Like, and it's such a that's such a cool story, Kim, because I think that a lot of times people don't realize that either, right? Like you think, oh, I can do this, or I've done this on my own, or I don't need this part, this component. Like, no,
Yeah,
you actually do. And it makes all the
definitely.
difference in the world. Like there's just those like the coaching and the and the community piece of it. Like there's so much combination of science, like really legit science, like
Yeah,
understand how your body works and what's happening and why it's working and all of that, which you need, right? There's
yeah,
great recipes, like which we're going to talk
yes,
about in a second. Like the food is amazing, but then
yes,
there's also that like support piece and the
yes.
mindset piece that like when you combine those things together becomes kind of unstoppable it's just such a good mix. So
It
let's talk
is.
about the food because you're a
Yeah,
foodie,
I
clearly.
am.
So how did like how like do you like just tell me your thoughts about the
So
food.
I love the recipes. And I love, so the way that I've always approached it is to be able to have something that I could eat as like the main course. And then, I'll make rice or pasta or something for my family. And then I'll always do roasted vegetables or cauliflower rice or, something, like that. So it's been a very easy, kind of balance with that. But what I found with TAS is there's not a bad recipe. Like they're amazing. And my family doesn't complain. They have no idea that, I'm using these recipes that are good for them. And we've since found that both my older children are gluten intolerant. So I don't have to worry about it with them.
Yeah.
And Courtney's able to eat it without it messing with her stomach. And so it's been great. And the desserts, oh my gosh. Well, I said I had a crazy sweet tooth and I just cannot give that up because even more than like feeling like I need it, it's that comfort piece.
Yeah.
It's that make you feel good no matter what else is going on and what other crazy happens to be. It
Yeah.
just makes you feel good.
Like stress eating that's actually good for you.
Absolutely.
I love it. So what are your favorite types of sweeteners then that you use? Like, what are your preferred sweeteners?
Definitely monk fruit and allulose.
Yeah.
And I've learned that they work better for different things.
Mhm.
So I always have monk fruit and I always have allulose because I
Mhm.
love to make homemade whipped cream and just have it for whatever I feel like. And I've learned that the allulose is much better for using in whipped cream because it dissolves completely.
Mhm.
Whereas when you use monk fruit, even though I powder my own monk fruit
Uh-huh.
always because it's cheaper to buy the classic than
Yeah.
the powder. So I'll powder it myself. It still will get that grainy texture, whereas
Oh.
allulose will not.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And I'm kind of with you. Like allulose is definitely my preferred most of the time because I feel like it's the best for you since it's got gut healing properties in it as well. But sometimes in baked goods, it can brown things too fast. So
Yeah,
I find that too. And monk fruit, I agree with you too. Monk fruit is my second favorite after
yeah,
allulose.
definitely. Those are the two that no matter what, I
Yeah.
have to have in my pantry. And I'm loving that I found the monk fruit allulose blend.
Do you use the
Love
one
that.
from Wholesome Yum? Is that the one
No,
you
I
use?
actually use Lakanto because I was using that, way before
Yeah.
um, Wholesome Yum came out with her products.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love her products and I will buy those too. But I had they have a huge, like 3-pound bag.
Oh,
So when
nice.
it goes on
Nice.
sale, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. No, that's amazing. So, like, it sounds like you've really figured out how to make this work in your everyday life. Like, and you were doing this for a long time before you started TAS. So it's probably a little bit different for you. What did you find that was most challenging and what has been most challenging along the way on your journey?
So I feel like there's a couple different things. It gets very challenging when you get discouraged,
Mhm.
and when you're like looking at the numbers. And like I said, I have OCD. I'm very hyper focused on numbers a lot of times. When you feel like you're doing all the right things, but the scale is either not moving or worse yet, it goes up. And you're like, well, what did I do? I did everything right. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And not like stepping back and saying, wait a second, there's a whole lot more that goes into it than just what I did or didn't eat. So I find that even now I have to fight with myself sometimes to not hyper focus on the numbers and to realize this is a long haul. This I will be eat this way for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if the scale goes up a pound today, but then goes down a pound or 2 pounds in a few days, or my GKI might be not exactly where I want it because again, even though I know it doesn't matter to have the lower number, my OCD head says, yes, it does. The lower, the better.
Yeah.
So trying not to focus on that. And the other thing is, especially when you're around people who don't eat like this, focusing on what you can't eat. Not that we can't eat something. Well, for me, I can't unless I want the side effects of the
Yeah.
headaches and everything else. Because at this point, if I have anything with actual sugar, I will have a migraine in 20
Oh,
minutes
wow.
without fail.
Wow. That's a pretty good way to keep you off of it
Yeah.
because that's not
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, and it really stinks because you could go out and not know. Like
Mhm.
I did it a few days ago. I was working an event and they had food. Usually I bring my own. And I thought I was being very careful and I thought that I was eating the right things, but something I ate had sugar in it because within 20 minutes I had a headache.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
was like, so being careful not to focus on what you feel like you can't have because the truth of the matter is especially with our recipes with TAS's array of recipes there is a counterpart to everything like
Yeah.
there doesn't matter what you're craving or what you may want savory or sweet salty snack wise it doesn't matter there is always a Thinlicious approved way to do it.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. And
So
quite
true.
frankly, a lot of times it tastes better.
I think that's true too. Like, and I will say I'm kind of like you, where especially when I was at the beginning of my journey, I found that making like recreating my favorite foods in like a way that was healthier and like really helped me. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't find the need to do that now. Like, and I think maybe it's just because I've been eating this way for so long that it's so natural. And even my kids prefer all the recipes. It was funny. My daughter was, you were talking about your kids too. Like my daughter was going off to college, right? And the 3 weeks before she left, she was like, Mom, you got to make all my favorite recipes. I'm like, well, give me a list. And every recipe that she gave me was a Thinlicious recipe. I'm like, well, I guess they are into this kind of food. So it was,
Yeah.
but it, like, we don't even really think about it anymore. But at the beginning, I really did. Like, I'm like, ooh, I want breadsticks. How can I make
Yes.
breadsticks? Right? I need cinnamon
Yeah.
rolls. How can I make cinnamon rolls? And you can. You just have to.
Yeah.
You have to be a little more creative and figure it out. And obviously, now we have recipes for all of those things on our website, so you can look them all up. But yeah, it's interesting how like how it shifts over time. And has like, are you still in active weight loss phase right now? Are you phase 2, phase 3? Where are you at?
So I'm still phase two because I'll go back and forth. So I decided I wanted to lose probably another six or maybe eight. I don't know. We'll see. So I decided I wanted to do that again. So now I'm back on. And gonna, well, I say I'm implementing. I was doing great, and then I went to Outer Banks. And
Vacations
then,
will do that every time.
yeah. So then I gained a couple more pounds. And so now I'm like, okay, kids are back in school. The routine is starting to kind of even out. So now I'm going to put back in protein days and, do that again and lose the last couple pounds that I want again.
And how much have you lost in total?
So I actually have only lost about 25, 26 pounds. But for me, I'm only 5'1.5".
Oh, so that's
And so that's a lot. And
yeah.
it made a big difference in the way that I looked and how it kind of overall. I feel bad when I hear other people's weight loss and I'm like, well, I only lost 25 pounds. But for
It's all
me, in my
relative.
short little self, it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all relative. And I think sometimes we don't like it's not a competition, right? Like it's
Right.
all about like how you feel and what you like, where you're happy at and what works for you. And
Yeah.
sometimes on my Instagram, I'll talk about how I went from a size 14 to a size 4, and I'll say how much I weigh, which is like 152, right? People are like, how can you weigh 152 and be a size 4? That's not possible. I'm like, I'm 6'2". Trust me, that is possible. Like if I'm less than 152 pounds, we don't want to go there. That's getting scary range. So
Yes, exactly.
it's so funny. Like people, you don't like connect that. Like you being 5'1", 25 pounds is like a huge percentage of your body weight, probably as
Hmm.
much, if not more than what I lost. Right. Like, so
Yeah.
that's just, it's crazy how that works.
Yeah. But I
So
feel much better now.
yeah, I bet it makes such a huge difference. I mean, the headaches alone is
Yes.
huge, but I'm guessing probably no inflammation, like
Yep.
no joint pain, like all the things that go away when the headaches are going away for the same reasons.
Absolutely.
It's like it's amazing, and the amount of energy that you have and not needing to take a nap every day. And
Exactly. When you can actually get through your to-do list, or if you don't, it's only because you hyper focused on something, but not because you were tired.
yes, yes. So do you have any tips of how you make this work in your day-to-day life? Like, and I'm really curious just from a OCD perspective, like what have been the things that have been really, really helpful for you to just make this doable and feasible, especially with 4 kids?
So I really think that making sure you have those recipes that you love um, as kind of your go-to, especially when life gets crazy and things get super busy. Also, if you want something sweet, make it, or if you want something salty, make it. I feel like the only way to live this life forever, long term, is to not make yourself feel like you're deprived of something. I love that we do the baking class because people think that when you're eating healthy that you can't have sweet stuff. And that is so not the case.
So
And
not
I feel like if you think that you can never have a piece of candy or you can never have a piece of cake or something sweet again, who the heck's going to do that long term,
Right.
And so I think having those recipes that are your go-to, or knowing that you have an alternative to, a regular donut. And as long as you're prepared and you have those things, you don't get derailed. That, and not overthink it, especially with having OCD. I tend to overthink everything. And I have to sometimes take a step back and get out of my own head and make myself not overthink it, not hyper focus. And if I find I'm hyper focusing on the numbers too much, then I take a break from weighing myself, or I'll take a break from testing my blood, or something like that, until, and it's usually, I find I do that when I'm stressed in other areas, which then kind of makes me more stressed in things I feel I can control.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a
And then when
control
the numbers aren't right, when I can control it, then I go nuts.
Has the program helped you with that at all, of just like changing the way that you think about all of
Yes,
the things?
very much so. So the program, I can't even begin to tell you how much the program has helped me, especially the lessons on mindset and kind of getting out of your own way. I tend to self-sabotage a lot of times, and I'll be doing great, and then I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So the lessons on that, and knowing the signs to look for and to be able to kind of stop it before it gets out of control, super helpful. And the fact where you can go back and redo the lessons over and over and over again whenever you need it, that's super helpful. The fact that you look at the numbers in a more positive light, meaning that you're using the numbers not to say, oh my gosh, what did I do? Why is that not right? And then overthinking it, but using it for information, like using it to say, okay, what did I eat yesterday? Or where was my stress level? Or how did I sleep? And looking at other ways that could have contributed to the numbers feeling off, instead of just being so crazy focused on just the numbers and not the overall picture. So I
Yes.
feel like TAS has really helped me look at the overall picture and look at it in a much more balanced way that I feel is a much healthier way.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. And it's so easy to get so caught up in the numbers and the obsession, especially if you are actually have the OCD, right? And of just the like, gotta do it right, gotta do it right, gotta get it right now. But we so take that approach of like, this is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
Not every day is going to be perfect. Like you just keep going, and having that, like everybody else saying that too. Like you can't help but like start to assimilate that mindset shift, that because it's so important, and we need reminders all the time, all the
Yes.
time, all the
Yes.
time. It's amazing how quickly we forget and move out of it, or get stressed, as you said, and you need to come right back to it.
Yeah,
So good.
absolutely. And knowing that you can just, even if you have a bad day or you eat something maybe you shouldn't have, it's not a big deal. Lisa always says, just make the next right choice.
Next right
And
choice.
it's so true. It's so
It's
true. When you
yeah.
start looking at this more as a lifestyle and not a diet, I think that makes all the difference.
It really does. It really does. So, last piece of advice you want to share before we hop off?
Um, just like I said, don't overthink it. Don't hyper focus on the numbers. If the numbers are off, look at the overall picture, and always, always have things prepared. Being prepared and having a plan is just such a success point, because when you have it ready, you don't have to worry about what everybody else is eating, because you have your own snacks and your own sweet treats, and and then you never feel like you're missing out. You've
Yeah,
always got it.
I love that. I love that. Planning ahead. So huge.
Yes.
Kim, thank you so much for sharing your story. This was so helpful and such a great perspective. And I just appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun. Thank you.
Don't you just love Kim's story and her attitude? I think she had so many golden nuggets to share, and it's so good, so inspiring, because what it really says is that if she can do it, you can too. And of course, that brings me to the end of this bonus episode, but I will be back with another new episode very soon.